One of my favorite things to do as an angler is explore new water. Whether I'm with the show or just feeling intrepid and trying out a little stream that looked promising to me as I drove over it. Finding fish in unfamiliar water is one of the coolest things we can do, regardless of how often we come up empty. And remember this, with failure comes knowledge, and eventually one learns what to look for and what not to look for. And with that, more consistent rewards will follow. As do-it-yourself destinations go, Lake Superior may be the mother of all. First of all, it's flippin' huge. The largest freshwater lake in the world, and it has something really cool going for it. That being a unique strain of brook trout that are only found in the big lake. Generally referred to as coasters, these nomadic fish, and not that recently, were almost lost to the region. And it's only through the efforts of dedicated scientists and anglers that these fish have returned to much of their native range and are again a viable and accessible sport fishing option. Join myself and Scientific Angler's marketing manager Joe Wolthius as we spend a long weekend with the folks from North Superior Charters for the last few days of brook trout season.
Beautiful. That's what I was after.
Exploring the islands and inlets around Nipigon Bay to see if we can bring a few of these gems to the net.
Little coaster.
Little coaster, nice.
Ooh, that's a nice sized fish.
Absolutely fantastic.
Nice.
Oh my goodness, that's the kind of fish they make stickers out of.
The new fly fisher is supported by Superior Country, Vair Watches, Scientific Anglers, Trout Unlimited,
Getting to North Superior Charters facility is a fun little adventure. And the owner, Daryl Spleck, has a fairly seamless routine down. After arriving at Red Rock and hooking up with Joe and Daryl, we loaded up the big water taxi and headed across Nipigon Bay to the cabins on Moss Island. The trip across was a little rough, but incredibly picturesque, and it really gave me a feel for the vastness of the lake. And this wasn't even the open water. After arriving and getting settled into our cabin, Joe and I rigged up and headed out with Daryl to get familiar with the area. Joe had an idea of what he wanted to do over the next few days, but this was a good chance for me to get a sense of what I'd be dealing with on the big lake, being here for the first time.
So Joe, what are we expecting here today? Like this is our first trip. We've got some reasonably heavy seas and wind, some surge. What do you think's going to happen here?
Rob, first day out on the water here exploring Nipigon. I've been out here multiple times in the springtime. A lot of what we're going to be trying to do today is hitting those shoreline transitions, sharp drops, looking for cobble, looking for those color change areas where brook trout will be hanging out, concentrating on those with a number of different sink rates on lines. I'll be starting out with an intermediate line with a longer leader and some jig streamers, just trying to explore, see where we can find some fish, and then start concentrating on different lines if we need to go deeper, chasing after fish in a little deeper water.
It was without question a bonus having Joe along. Without his prior knowledge, and now getting a feel for what I was in for, I'm quite certain I would have been lost without him.
You're up, Rob.
Joe and I have decided that rather than having two guys fish from the boat at the same time, especially in this wind, it's just impossible. So Joe just went through this with a couple of, he called them jig flies. I've decided to go in with this bigger smelt pattern. It's not really a true smelt, but it's a close enough representation. And just show them something different. We're coming into about, it looks to me like we're in about 5 feet of water. There's lots of structure and rocks around. So I'm gonna try something a little different than what Joe had, just see if we can't start to put the puzzle together.
We traveled a fair bit, probing some likely looking shorelines and bays, and got a feel for the lake. The fishing was slow, but it gave Joe and I a bit of an idea of what to look for over the next couple of days. For day 2, it was clear from the get-go that if the wind didn't start to settle, we were in for a challenge. That wind, which seemed to be relentless, was really going to dictate where we could fish, and at times, it kept us from even traveling to the areas that Joe wanted to fish. Regardless of the weather, Joe and I made the best of our time, ate well, and relaxed, as only one can do in a cabin on an island.
Hey guys, this morning we're trying to work some nice rock ledges, got some nice hard transition zones, kind of going into some cobble. Got a pretty windy day out here. Really trying to find some bait fish piled up and some ambush points for those coasters. Just see if we can find really where they're hiding out at. Had a pretty hard blow overnight and just trying to look around at some different areas this morning.
As Joe already mentioned, we are fishing this transition zone. From the rocky wall out, there's a fair bit of large cobble, which I like. I feel that it's going to give nice concealment to these fish. And then it comes into smaller cobble, almost sandy bottom. So what I'm doing is I'm getting this as close to the shore and over those rocks, and also picking larger targets as I go. So the first part of my retrieve is going to be fairly quick to get it away from that big cobble, but then when I see that transition zone, which is most evident along this bubble line, I'm slowing it down considerably because I think the fish are going to orient to that little drop off that I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's just tough conditions out here. Fairly moderate water temps, and we're 65 degrees here, and ideally we want to be a little bit lower than that, but we got plenty of bait fish around this morning. I think just trying to find those transition and ambush points is going to be critical for success today. Going to go down to another spot where there's a little bit of current, just see if we can find some fish active on the bait. If that wind settles down, getting over to the other side of Blind Channel, there's a real big cobble field over there.
Oh boy, I don't know, man. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Oh, Jesus. I'm not
Touch one?
I'm not seeing rocks here, and it sure felt soft enough to be a fish.
We'll just try to kind of back into it and kind of let me fan cast.
Yeah. All right, well, get up there. I'll get you over there.
Joe and I took turns on the motor as it was simply too rough to attempt any kind of uncontrolled drift, and we continued to work the transition zones and high percentage targets. As I mentioned earlier, everything about this water looked terribly fishy, but despite our best efforts, we struggled to find them.
Right here is fine right now, so
Okay.
we just kind of kick her in and out. So
Okay.
you see how it's kind of dark?
Yeah,
Dark over here with
Yeah.
this bucket.
yeah.
We can just kind of stay close to stationary. Then we'll just kind of work into that little bar.
So I'm just gonna come in a little bit and around, just a little push, and then I'll shove her in reverse and
All right.
just feather us off that.
We moved around the inner channel for most of the day and fished hard, but in the end, it only continued to get tougher and tougher.
There we go. Not a big one, but that's a pink salmon. It's funny, we were just talking about that this morning. Joe asked Daryl if he gets many pinks, and oh, there he's out. And he said they get the odd one, but that's a nice little fresh female pink.
We did have the odd encounter, which kept our interest up, but overall, we had to chalk this one up to another learning day. Even though the fishing wasn't a huge success, we made it through to the end of the day and onto the deck with a good barbecue, a cold beverage, and some great company. By the third day, the weather had improved marginally. The wind was still up, but the sky was fairly clear, and Joe and I were both a little more optimistic. We were finally able to cross the open water and get into a couple of the locations that Joe was familiar with.
So we've kind of been relegated to I guess it's the north side of the lake due to the big winds. But now we're kind of in your element again, aren't you? You've got some experience out here. We were able to get across the big lake this morning. Joe has fished this 3 or 4 times, and we got good conditions. What do you think is going to happen?
We're in some kind of leeward side of some of the wind that's out here today. Got some protection from it, so we're going to try to find some wind-blown points. Maybe find some current breaks from all the wind that's happening in the big lake, and just see if we can find some of those pinch points where coasters are going to be hanging out this morning.
It's the beauty of exploring. Even Joe's fished this mainly in the spring and early summer. We're here just on the edge of summer and fall, so the fish could be patterning completely different. But all you can do is work them.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
All right.
Let's get them. Good here?
Yeah, we'll probably, as soon as we'll just start kind of cruising our way back in a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
It's one thing to hop onto completely unfamiliar water and get comfortable with the fact that you're struggling. Depending on the size of a lake, it might take dozens, if not hundreds of hours to figure things out. But that's why we do it. It's fun and extremely rewarding when you even get close to putting the puzzle together. Now, this wasn't completely unfamiliar water though. Maybe to me, but certainly not to Joe. And we knew that it held fish, and that kept us engaged and confident despite our struggles. Mark Melnick and Jack Emhoff visited this area a few years previous and likely covered much of the same water that we were working. So I, at the very least, knew that I was casting to fish.
Got one. Fish on. Okay. He hammered it just as I was stripping into it, just off a big boulder. Beautiful fish. Yeah. Okay. Whoa. That's good. Okay. Oh. Beautiful. Beautiful brook trout. Beautiful coaster. Okay. Here you go, sweetie. Here you go. Oh, I see him. Fish on again.
Yeah, they're in here.
Okay, this time I'm gonna get the heck out of the way.
That was a little bigger. So I'll
Boy,
just
that was a nice
put it
hit.
in reverse and back up so that I stay out of the rocks here.
Yes, please. Yeah, that fish. Whoa, here he goes. Ho, ho, ho. He wants to go. Yeah, he wants to go. Wait a second. Here we go. Let's see how he goes. Short, tight strips. Okay, see if I can get his head up. Whoa. Got him? Awesome. Thank you very much. Beautiful. Beautiful brook trout. Beautiful coaster brook trout. This is what you come up to Northern Ontario for. Come on, you little sweetheart.
Nice.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah, nice silver brookie.
It's a brook, all right.
So I cast right to shoreline. Like I'm talking right on shore. And, that was recommended by Gary. He said, don't be afraid to put it right on the shoreline to get these fish to react to it because they're cruising super tight. And that's what I did here. Put it right against the shoreline, actually turned to put the engine into reverse, pause that fly, and this fish picked it up on the pause. And here we go.
Here we go, man.
Awesome. Here we are. Nice 17-inch fish. Adipose fin. The modeling on the back just starting. Red spots. Don't even see any blue halos yet, but they're coming. That leading edge white fin, just radiant.
I believe strongly that success in any kind of fishing comes with persistence and big confidence in your presentation and fly selection. If you're doing what makes sense in the water, odds are better that you'll find it.
Fish. Nice. All right.
Good one. So we're out here working like a windblown point, and we just got into a nice little coaster brook trout. Came up and grabbed the drop fly. We're fishing some deeper drops out here. Ooh, he's not ready to come in yet. Looks to be a nice coaster brook trout. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Get him up here. Oh yeah. Oh, might be a little lake trout.
Yeah, it is a little laker. I think. No, maybe not.
Nope, nope. Little coaster.
Little coaster, nice. Not that little.
So anywhere else in the world, we'd call these a huge brook trout, but out here, these are kind of hitting the average. About probably 17, 18 inch fish. Just gorgeous Lake Superior coaster brook trout.
We were able to hit several of Joe's spots and had marginally more encounters today,
There's a fish.
but it was admittedly still fairly slow. But that's real life fishing for you. Some days are diamonds and some days are coal. However, I got to experience Lake Superior, or at least this tiny sector, and got a close-up of the uniqueness and the beauty of this region.
Well, it's not exactly what we're after, but if it means getting the old skunk off. About every 15 minutes, the surge will come up and it'll push the flow hard to the south, and then 15 minutes later, it'll push it hard to the north. When we first came in here about a half an hour ago, this was fast flowing out into this bay, and then of course it turned and it started going that way. It would make sense that the fish would orient here because there's constantly food being moved back and forth. And Joe told us that in the spring they find fish here on a regular basis. But if we stick around long enough, we'll get a chance to see this turn and then start flowing that way. It's almost like a tide. It acts just like a tide, but it's far more frequent than a tide.
Out here on Lake Superior chasing coaster brook trout this week, and wanted to just review a few of the flies that we've been using. Lake Superior is essentially just a giant still water, and with anything on still water, you have to be able to dissect those depth ranges that you're at. A lot of the lines that we're using cover anything from shallow to deep, and along with that, we want to match our flies up to those depth ranges. Fishing a lot of bugger type flies like these tungsten thin mints, to rabbit style zonkers. We have these tide intruder style. These are going to float and be fairly neutrally buoyant. Fishing those 1 to 2 foot zones up on the bank, bigger cobble flats that we have out here, or we have a lot of smaller kind of dense jig head flies. Just be prepared for different depth ranges, and I hope this helps you pick out flies for your next Lake Superior coaster brook trout trip.
Most large still waters, you're going to want to have a range of rods between 6 and 8 weights. That's both to deal with the lines that you're using and of course the conditions, mainly the wind. And that's what we used this week. 6 weights through 8s, ranging from 9 to 10 feet. But of far more importance than the rod that you're using are the lines. And just like you want to be versatile with your flies and have a range of weights and weighted flies to get down, you need to match those up with lines. For this episode, we typically got away with intermediate sinking lines and type 3 sinking lines, but it would really pay to have a type 5 or a type 6 as well, just to be able to drop the fly into those larger drop-offs off the deep banks that we've been fishing. Versatility is key in still waters, so don't show up with just your garden variety floating line and expect to get the job done. You will have to make a bit of an investment, but it'll be well worth it in the end.
Did we mention how windy it was? Well, it was.
Wow, that pushes me off fast. It's just crazy.
And fishing the big water like this, you have to prepare yourself for that. Joe proved that being ambidextrous was an undeniable advantage, but most of us are not that skilled, and dealing with the wind can be problematic.
Casting in the wind, let's face it, is no fun. But if you're going to be fishing big open water like we are here on Lake Superior, you got to learn to overcome it. So, the situation I'm in right now, because I don't have an angler in the front of the boat, I've got a strong wind blowing onto my left shoulder or my weak shoulder, and this scenario is fairly simple. You're simply going to make an overhand cast and deliver the fly. Now, there are a couple of things that you can do to help with that. One of them being use that water to load your rod. Don't be afraid to water load. What you're doing is you're eliminating needless false casts and taking away one of the mess up factors. So I'm just extending my line by a couple of feet, water loading it, making my next cast, and getting to my full distance. So that's fairly straightforward. So what do you do when that strong wind is blowing onto your good shoulder? In my case, I'm a right-handed caster. Where I want to be casting is down here ahead of the boat. So if I cast over the boat, again, I run the risk of hitting the other individual in the boat. The easiest way to accomplish this, and if you remember this, fundamentally, your back cast should be almost a mirror image of your forward cast. So all I'm going to do is, rather than shoot my forward cast, I'm just going to stop and deliver my back cast. Don't overthink it. It's as easy as that. Get into a casting rhythm, and instead of delivering your forward cast, you're simply going to stop your rod tip on your back cast, shoot the line just as you would with a forward cast. It's that simple. And again, like so much we do, don't overthink it. Just practice it.
The wind wasn't letting up and the fish weren't terribly active, so we decided to call it a day and head back to the lodge. We enjoyed a nice dinner and chatted with other guests into the night, where the northern lights put a nice period on the end of the day.
For those of you who value time spent outdoors, investing in reliable tools is essential to making the most of your experience in nature. A durable, affordable, and timeless wristwatch is the perfect companion for any angler. And that's exactly what Vair watches are built for. Assembled in America and backed by a guaranteed waterproof warranty, Vair watches offer the ideal balance of affordability and performance. Stay on time and focus on the moments that matter most.
As a do-it-yourself facility goes, North Superior Charters has it all. It's remote, but not too remote. It's modern enough, that you're not roughing it but rustic enough to feel like a true fishing camp. And I'll say this, the northern hospitality really shines through in Daryl and his guests.
We are a housekeeping operation. People bring their own food. Kitchens are well stocked. And some of the folks self-guide, some of them are guided. And later in the summer, more are guided just for ease of catching fish. We've got 2 guest cabins and another overflow cabin. And one of the cabins sleeps 8, the other one sleeps 6. And then there's a couple that can sleep in the 3rd cabin. And we're all off-grid power, so we try to keep the noise to a minimum from a generator if it does happen to run. And yeah, the biggest species for us is lake trout, but now we've been transitioning. We're getting some really big northern pike, and brookies are beginning to be a blast as well. Prime time, depending on the species, is May and June for brook trout. They still bite later, but they're more finicky. Our lake trout are good throughout. And the northern pike, our numbers are not strong, but the size is ridiculous. It's a lot of fun. Our guests arrive 2 ways. They either fly into Thunder Bay or they drive, and most of them drive. And from Thunder Bay, it's about an hour drive to the marina in Red Rock. And we have a water taxi waiting for them, and we pick them up and bring them 30 miles to Moss Island. From there, we hop into smaller boats, whether it's guided or unguided, and off we go. This area is just amazing from a scenery standpoint, and we're far enough away from civilization where we don't get crowds ever. So most of our guests do not share any reefs or shorelines with other fishermen ever. And we do supply canoes and kayaks for those who want to do that, and we have a very ugly big swan if somebody wants to take that out for a spin.
On our last day, Joe and I decided to divide and conquer. We split up with the intent to fish 2 separate locations that we had had moderate success on, in hopes of upping our odds on finding a couple more big coasters for the camera. I headed to the open water to fish a couple of rocky humps, and Joe went back to the chute that we had fished a couple days ago. It was still windy and the threat of rain was heavy, but this was the last kick at it.
There's a fish. There we go. There we go. All right. Back us off of here. Now this was kind of an afterthought, and I have to admit, I was a donkey and didn't bring my net, and I apologize for that. It's not a huge fish, but it's still a nice little coaster. That makes me happy. I am a happy man, whether I lose this little girl or not. Come here, sweetheart. Come here. Okay. Come here. All right. There she is. Okay, we're gonna hold her like that. There. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's what I was after. And then the rain started. But I'm super pleased. This has been a tough week for everybody. The weather has been, as you've seen, has been horrible. And now it's starting to rain, but we're still catching fish and having a ball doing it as we always do. I'm gonna try for one more. We should talk a little bit about what we've been doing in terms of our retrieve. It's been nothing fancy, and it's contingent, of course, on how deep a line, how deep your line is sinking, what kind of line you're fishing. But whether you're doing a finger roll retrieve like this, or just a steady, uniform retrieve, whatever retrieve you're doing, when you're fishing still waters, and as Joe mentioned earlier, this is just a big, all this is a big still water. You want to make sure that you're keeping your fly line pointed at the fly so everything is nice and straight. And when you get that tap or that touch, you're able to drive the hook home with a nice solid strip set, then lift the rod and start fighting the fish. Again, if there's one takeaway from that, no matter your retrieve, there's a fish. I had a feeling we'd be in that spot. Again, it's not a big one, but by golly. As I've said on other shows, no matter what we're fishing, we're always hoping for, like anybody, we're always hoping for big fish. I came to Lake Superior hoping to get those fabled coaster brook trout, but I gotta tell you, wherever I'm fishing, it is so nice to see different age classes, varying age classes. If I came up here and all I was catching was 20-inch fish, yeah, sure, I'd be happy. But for the future, we know that this fishery is strong and that the efforts from all of the people involved in the coaster brook trout programs, it's working, because we've got fish from 10 inches to 17 inches and have seen some bigger fish. So that's always a good sign. Well, this week was all about transitions. I've got a better understanding of what to look for these early fall fish or these pre-spawn fish. We found fish anywhere that the cobble dropped away, or in the case of the shoal that we just fished, the deep depressions. That's where they were all week. So we've had a terrific trip with North Superior Charters, and we got to thank Daryl for his hospitality. The place is beautiful, it's spectacular. We saw eagles, we saw pelican. It was great to explore. Fishing new water is always a bonus for me, and I love it. I want to thank Joe Wolthius too for helping us out. He was a huge asset. Even though it was a new time of year for him, he still had a fairly intimate knowledge of the area. To watch other episodes in our series, check us out on YouTube or visit us on the web at thenewflyfisher.com. From all of us at The New Fly Fisher, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the water.
On a final note, and to avoid any confusion, after we finished filming at North Superior Charters, Daryl made a name change to North Superior Outfitters.
The New Fly Fisher is supported by Superior Country, Their Watches, Scientific Anglers, Trout Unlimited,